David Gilbert, CEO, President of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Destination Cleveland. It's you look like it's like you're running a marathon and you're at about 10 miles into the 26 miles. You're still keeping up the pace, but it's like, whew, this is long.
At the end of all of it, it'll feel like I just finished a marathon. But it's awesome. It's so energizing. Just walking around, you feel it. You feel it everywhere in this city. It's really amazing.
How long of a process was this for Sports Commission to get this event?
We're probably really in earnest about 2.5 years, and we were awarded the event about 2.5 years ago. The real work started, we work like this with the Indians day in and day out, and it's a great division of labor of the Indians in the city and us all working together, all taking pieces of it that we do best. And the last year in particular is where it really kicks into gear. MLB really starts concentrating the day after one AllStar Game. They'll be thinking about LA
right, sure.
on Wednesday.
But that's that's not easy to do. To you have all these entities, having to share responsibility. The communication's got to be right. The partnership, the working relationship's got to be right. But I mean, when you walk around Cleveland, like you said, or you walk here at Play Ball Park, you see the results of the great working relationship because, I mean, the atmosphere speaks for itself.
Yeah, thankfully we've done it before with a lot of other events, so a lot of these partners, there's a huge amount of trust, and that's the key. When you trust each other and you know one group is going to get something done, they're going to get it done great, and it's, in the end, from one city to another, it's about the little touches. We have a huge group out at the airport right now with bands and passing stuff out. Like every little thing, you try to think of where the visitor, every touch point for the visitor, and how do you do the little things that are going to make it great, that is going to be that memorable in people's minds about Cleveland.
How are you able to, and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, do all this? Because it's like you're working on the AllStar Game, but you have to keep a mind on the NCAA tournament next year. You've got to keep an eye on the NFL draft in 2021. You've loaded up here some great events over the next 5 years, and you got to have one eye on the present, but one eye on the future.
Yeah, I know it's very trite to say we have an unbelievable staff, but we do. And it's only 14 full-time staff people, and a lot of interns and others, but it's also dividing. So, while this is going on, we're back at the office working on future stuff. We had 5 national events over the past 3 months. We had 3 smaller NCAA championships in Cleveland. We had a major USA wrestling event. We had the CONCACAF Gold Cup at First Energy Stadium. So you're right. It is always a little bit of thinking about the present and the future, but also where to make the best use of your time. An event like this takes so much more of your time. Some of the smaller ones, there's a lot to do, but you have to, you can't do all things for all events. So thankfully we've been at it long enough that we've kind of learned how to do that, and also how many other people and organizations, they want to jump in and help. And we have literally thousands of volunteers that are part of all this.
Yeah.
So that helps a great deal.
Yeah, my wife's from Indianapolis, so I've had a long history of watching that city try to bring amateur sports events to town.
They've really done it better than any other city in America. I think lately we've been nipping at their heels a bit, which is great, but I'd say as a community, they've embraced a future of their economy on the hosting of major events as much as any city in America, and it shows.
So do you have a white whale out there, this one event that are you bringing the Oscars here? Tell me that.
I would, it's interesting because we think about that now that we got the draft in particular, as big as that's become.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's about the next home run. I think it's about sustaining.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm big on baseball analogies. It's about the constant singles and doubles, and you get these home runs that are off the charts. People see it. The nation takes notice. The world takes notice. But from the economy standpoint, it's 10, 12, 13 events every year that we're not going to be sitting here talking about, but are bringing in each one thousands of people, and even when you have an NCAA women's bowling championship, for that smaller group, they're just as passionate about their sport, and that's a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
Can you put it in terms for fans? They want to say, well, what does all this mean to Cleveland? What does this mean, if I'm not a baseball fan, but I'm excited because the All-Star Game is in Cleveland. Can you put it in terms they understand of what this means impact-wise for the city?
I think it's three things. One is certainly financial. It's estimated based on past studies about $65 million will be spent in Cleveland this week from outside of Cleveland. And it creates a lot of jobs. It's a lot of taxes. It spreads enormous amounts of money, but that's over the week. The national media. I mean, for a city like Cleveland to have an event that truly the nation and the world is watching doesn't happen very often.
Sure.
And again, for a city that's struggled with perception issues for generations, that makes a big difference, huge difference. And I think also a little bit unique to Cleveland is civic pride. We also battle. We're one of those cities that battles a little bit of a woe is us.
Right.
We're all Clevelanders. We've been beat down for a long time, but we keep getting up. and for Clevelanders to know this kind of stuff doesn't happen by accident. And the national media, what they're writing about Cleveland, they're not writing. They're writing this is a great event, but they're also writing this is a great city. And that's something we can be proud of. Yeah. And that has a long-lasting future effect for Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm not from here. I moved here.
You've been here a long time, though.
Moved here in '91, but I noticed, initially when I moved here, that there was this. It felt like almost an inferiority complex back then. And I've seen it change over the years. And I think events like this are not maybe not the major reason, but they're part of the whole narrative.
Well, it's interesting. So, yesterday in particular, you start seeing people from out of town. They're dressed in.
Yeah.
And you just listen to their conversations. You just hear constantly, well, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they had low expectations going in. Hey, we could take advantage of that. But it's fun to hear. I was just in line coming in here with the guy from behind me from Washington, D.C., hadn't been here in years. He's saying, this is just a cool town. I had no idea. And that, it's great to hear.
Yeah.
So much of it, and Curtis just mentioned it too, that it seems like from the RNC, a lot of this and what is coming in the future can be traced back to that summer of 2016. The RNC, of course, Cavs winning the championship in the parade, and of course the Indians in the World Series. But that RNC, that really has opened a lot of doors, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think in particular, if you look at the NFL draft, there are 22 cities vying for the draft. It was far from a given that Cleveland would get it. And what we did with the RNC of all the events, because that's such an enormous outdoor, free to the public, huge event, they don't know how big it's going to grow. Every year since they moved it to a large outdoor festival, the fact that this community handled the RNC as well as we did, I know played a factor in the NFL choosing Cleveland. Excellent. And it is amazing. I mean, that summer, it's funny. I remember in the same week in 2014. LeBron announced he was coming back, and later that week it was announced that we had gotten the RNC, and then here in the same short span in 2016, got the RNC. We win the championship with LeBron, and obviously the World Series in there as well. But it's that kind of stuff is easy to have go backward. What you don't want is 20 years from now people say that was an awesome summer in Cleveland. You want it to be what you were talking about, that was the start of something.
Yeah. Right.
And unless these things continue, having this here now, and NFL in 21, NBA in 22, Women's Final Four, we have NCAA first, second round next year, these constant things, and there'll be other non-sports as well. It's critical for that 16 isn't just going to be a page in a history book. Yeah. That was a cool time in Cleveland.
Yeah. And it's funny, just thinking about other events, and you said other maybe non-sports things. I look at this building, and it's a perfect venue for something like this. It's in the perfect location. It really has. This has really evolved into a great facility to hold events like this.
It has. It's a beautiful space now with the Hilton next door. We really, for the size of this building, it's a moderately sized convention, but one of the nicest of its kind and size in the country. We're doing extremely well. And one of the keys for Cleveland is bringing people here to see it for themselves. And so when you have this constant flow of meetings, conventions, whether it's big things like this or a meeting of surgeons or the Ohio educators, so it doesn't matter what it is. It's people who are coming here, yes, to spend their money, but I think even more important for Cleveland to see it for themselves. And we talk about that's millions of first dates a year. And so how do we think about converting that into some kind of long-term relationship? How do we get more people to move here, to invest here? And for a city like Cleveland that doesn't have we're not Nashville, we're not Austin. We could be perception-wise down the road, but we need people to see it for themselves to get over that mental picture of what they think Cleveland might be.
That's a great point.
David, it's great to see you.
Thank you
for
for
stopping by and coming down.
Thanks for doing
this. Congratulations on all this.
I hope you guys are going to get to enjoy some of this too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Good.